بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Right, so can I delay giving zakat till Ramadan since reward for deeds is increased? Allah. Right, okay, now this actually is more a custom based upon actually the Hanafi madhab, in a sense that the Hanafiya, the way they give zakat is probably, it's quite simplified in a sense that they say, well, once you have the nisab, the minimum amount, it triggers your zakat line is active, and now you just wait 12 months, and as long as you have the nisab on the other end, the minimum amount, you pay 2.5%. It's very straightforward, very simple. And they often say, let's choose the month of Ramadan to kind of give zakat in, because the rewards are multiplied. The other madhabs, often the Malikiya, the Shafi'iyya, their zakat thing gets a bit more complex in the sense that, okay, one point which I think is fair, that it makes sense, is that the nisab, the mandatory amount, must subside, must persist right throughout the year. The second point is that, okay, every time you get more money, it gets complicated in certain parts. So then they start saying, okay, well, maybe this should be a new batch of money. And that's because traditionally, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, people weren't dealing in money the way we're dealing in it today. They weren't dealing in like, oh, well, you're getting weekly wages and you're getting monthly. I mean, some people were, but a lot of people were basing things on substantial incomes that would come throughout the year. And they would span the year. Like, you've got a harvest, you've got a crop, you've sold that. Now you have so much money that lasts you throughout the year until the next year. And so people would have trade in this way and so on. The world has changed, right? And we are living in very changing, dynamic times. And what's interesting is Zaytuna, the Jam Zaytuna in Tunis, the legendary classical center of Islamic learning. The three centers, the Qarawiyyin, the Zaytuna and Al-Azhar, three most ancient centers of Islamic learning right throughout the world, all spanning over 1,000 years. Now the Zaytuna, they had a custom Ibn Ashur speaks about, that they did practice this, that they just allocated, and they would advise that people just allocate Ramadan for giving zakat. A bit like what the Hanafi madhab does, and they just gave the fatwa with the same thing. And I would say, yeah, that's an awesome thing to do. It makes sense. It's practical. People can remember every year when to give zakat. And why not? I mean, it's a lot more practical for this changing world, really. So, okay, can I delay? Yes, you can delay in that sense, and you can give it in Ramadan, and then just make it a practice of giving it in every Ramadan. Okay, right? Okay.
What is your reward?
Multiplied. Yes, any good deed is multiplied in Ramadan. Good deed only.
Extra incentive than reading.
So this is one of the reasons why the ulama of Zaytuna and the Hanafi madhab, ulama of Zaytuna being Malikis, but the Hanafi madhab as well, saying why they chose Ramadan is because your actions are multiplied, and therefore if you're going to give it, why not give it in Ramadan?
What about from the recipient's perspective? Wouldn't there be like throughout the year when they need the money, they can't get it and they have to wait till Ramadan?
See, I never knew you were going to ask that question. Otherwise, I would have trained for it.
Probably assuming that the money doesn't go immediately into circulation.
You see, the thing is that is a good question. This is why, I mean, people would not. First of all, there's 2 points to that. Not everybody would do this. Like I said, there's entire madhabs in general, the Shafi'i madhab, the Maliki madhab, the Hanbali madhab. They don't actually see that point of view. And even in the Hanafi madhab, this isn't something which is a must. This is just something which has been advised. Like the Zaytuna took it up as a practice. I don't think the majority of the Muslim world does that. The second, so I think there will always be a substantial, significant number of people giving zakat at different times throughout the year. That said, also there is the point of sadaqat. I mean, people will always be giving sadaqat, is always an option. But you're right. I mean, the whole Muslim world, from that perspective, if they all started only giving zakat in Ramadan, there would be a problem, because people don't just have calamities in Ramadan, they have calamities all around the year. I mean, just ask Maz, his credit card history, for example. It's not just in Ramadan it works up, does it? It's right throughout the year.
It could be collected in Ramadan and distributed throughout the year, really.
It could be, and so what happens is you have certain charities that collect and they then distribute, which does happen. So, right. So there's several. Like, let's just say in the UK, I mean, you're going to get several. They're going to be collecting zakat right throughout the year, and they will be distributing them per emergencies and per kind of. And there's plenty of those going on. It's not like they have to wait for an emergency. There's crises going on all the time. So they're kind of distributing that accordingly. So that does deal with that as well. So they do have that in operation. You're right. But that said, I think there is enough disparity in the world anyway that people are giving zakat at different times. I don't even think, there's just a certain number of people that do choose Ramadan for its virtue. I don't think the majority of the ummah or anything like this have chosen that. Anyway, so I hope, but that's a good point. It's a good